had been looking for a spot to open for a little bit, and in an urban environment that's a little bit tricky because you need both indoor and outdoor space. And as cities grow up and become more denser, it becomes harder and harder to find these little spots where you can do both. But I think it's so important to have access to plants and accesses to little urban wild spaces, you know. It's good for people's souls. My name's Adria Sparhawk, and I'm the owner at Thicket. My connection to plants goes way back. I grew up on a commune where we grew a lot of our own food, and my mother and grandmother always had huge gardens. So for as long as I could walk, I've been trekking around in the garden. I worked at a flower shop in college and tried to escape it several times. I sometimes say I'm in recovery. I'm in floral recovery. Yeah, so it was kind of a natural evolution from working in that shop in college. It just sort of evolved into more plants and living things. When I was looking for a space to open up a plant store, I live in the Alberta neighborhood, and I love the Alberta neighborhood, and I felt like we needed a plant store. And as I was looking for a spot, I met the owner of this empty lot. Nothing was happening here. It was just like garbage strewn and not terribly pretty. And he invited me to kind of do a little bit of a pop-up. There are food carts next door to me, and we just sort of expanded from there into this space. And originally I thought that it might just be a temporary spot for me to open, but it's just turned into a nice little hidden garden in this kind of back alley. I think my style here is definitely eclectic. We carry lots of different kinds of plants, and people often ask me, like, what is it that you specialize in? And it's like, just plants that I love. We love natives. I mean, they just perform well. They're good for the habitats, for, native birds and bees and pollinators and stuff. So we really try to push those as well. But in terms of like the creative elements here, I just feel like gardening can be really intimidating for someone who doesn't have a background. And so a lot of our handmade things are really intended to kind of be accessible and encourage them to make their own. Like our little shed and our little, potted areas are like, you can do this. This is like salvage stuff that you can pick up at the Rebuilding Center and make your own. Being a small nursery, the nice thing is that we've really had to be creative and find other small growers that are willing to work with us on this scale. And so we've been really lucky to find some people who do some really unusual stuff. I think the main thing growing plants in an urban environment is the heat index. It heats up in the city. And even though Portland is a very green city and we have great tree cover, it gets hot. It gets really hot and dry in the summer. And so all the plants in our space have to be tended to every day. And in the summer we'll have several thousand. And so someone has to come in contact with each plant every day and check in and make sure they've got the right water and the right nutrient and no pests are on them. So it can be definitely labor intensive, but luckily it's also really amazing to check in with all your plant babies every day. Yeah, I guess the thing that really motivates us the most is when someone comes back with a picture of the apple tree that they planted 2 years ago, and it's like full of fruit. Or better yet, when they bring us like a pie that they made from the apples that they planted. Like when people come back and share their stories of how they love their garden or they love their indoor wild space and how we were able to make that happen. Urban Gardening is, I mean, on so many levels, it's an important thing. People need connection to wild spaces, and in the city that can be really tricky. Plants just, they stimulate creativity, they help us sleep, they make us breathe easier, they lower our stress. I mean, what's not to love? So I have a goat story. There used to be goats that lived just kitty corner from us, and the kids would always go up to the fence and, you know, watch them. They would kind of come to Thicket, I think mainly for the goats. Our other neighbor was at a meadow bar up the street, and he's sitting there playing pinball, and a goat walks into the bar, and the guy sitting next to him is like, I know that goat. So grabs the goat and takes him home. He just wandered out and, you know, of course, went to the meadow bar, because that's what you do when you're a goat in Alberta. But